Next up, we have Mr. Dan Galpin, developer advocate on the games team here. He's the very model of a modern multitasker. And with that, he's going to teach you how to find success on play and play games at the same time. Dan Galpin. From his Google Plus bio. I don't think he knows.
Yeah. Thank you, Rich. It is great to be here in London again. So how many of you actually were at GDC last week and saw some of these presentations? All right, for some of you, this is going to be review. Don't worry, there will be a quiz at the end. It is great to be here in London. I love a chance to wear a pea coat this time of year, and it's been about 75 or 80 degrees actually now in the valley in California. So I wanted to start off talking about the great momentum we have on Google Play. And it's pretty exciting because right now, the last number we released, and this was a long time ago, talked about over 1 billion activated Android devices. And the other thing we know is that 3 in 4, in fact, over 3 in 4 Android users play games. So this is just an incredible opportunity to grow an engaged audience for your game. But here is something even cooler. In the last 6 months on Google Play Games, we've added over 75 million new users. So rapidly growing audience base that's very, very engaged with gaming content. So what is Google Play Games? All right, so we have achievements, leaderboards, cloud save, and multiplayer. Okay, all the basic stuff you would need. Multiplayer, we actually have both real-time and turn-based multiplayer. And these are all things that we've proven to be really, really valuable for gamers. So there's much more to this network, though, than just a collection of game services. Ultimately, Play Games is a concentrated network of people who enjoy games. In an ecosystem this large, it's essential to bring the people together and help you connect them to your content. For those of you who have adopted Play Games, we review the data that you've given us, and we've come up with these kinds of these basic statistics. We're talking about high-quality players. We're talking about people who are playing longer, more often, and are more likely to monetize. So again, Google Play Games users fit this profile. That's what we see time and time again. Now, whether this is correlation or causation is unclear, but people who sign into games fit these characteristics. They are your best game players. But the question is, how do you engage these players? With such a diverse audience, it's important to think about the thematics of your title and who it resonates with and what type of engagement appeals to them. So one way to think about engaging your audience is how open they are to social interaction and which techniques are useful for different gaming personas. Here at Android Labs, we've done extensive research, which leads us to the conclusion that there are 3 fundamental gamer archetypes. We actually did. This is seriously research that we did. We actually had a study, and we've named these things multiple things, but I like to refer to them as the competitor, the achiever, and the stealth gamer. And you can plot these on a graph. Again, this is a highly scientific study based upon openness. So we have our least open gamer to our most open gamer in terms of being open to social interaction. At the open end of our scale, the competitor archetype engages in everything: achievements, leaderboards, and multiplayer. They thrive in competitive and deep cooperative experiences. They own every console. Their personal homepage lists their achievements. They play games on mobile for the same reason that Captain Kirk climbed mountains in Star Trek IV, because they are there. Achiever is on the other side of the openness spectrum. They thrive in progression, solving problems, and revealing story. But they don't really want to play in social situations. They're like, OK, hold on. This is the mobile equivalent of the people that work to earn 1 million points in Geometry Wars without dying just to get the final achievement. The people that played Final Fantasy VIII to get the 2-minute-long Eden animation. Yes, like the competitor, these guys are also looking for deeper phone and tablet experiences. And this is our third one. This is kind of a funny persona. We actually refer to it as the wolf, the stealth. They're like, I'm not a gamer. But they actually play games every single day. And while they're less likely to engage in direct social interaction, they welcome passive interaction. This means they can be engaged to help a friend or compare themselves to another player, so long as the social interaction is fast and the impact is immediate. So with these 3 personas in mind, let's cover how Play Game services can help you reach each of them. So this guy's kind of obvious, okay? Social leaderboards. He wants to compete with his friends. Real-time and turn-based multiplayer. I mean, this guy's the competitor. So this is a game that I've been playing a lot, and these scores are actually out of date. And I've been playing Smash Hit not just because it's an awesome game, but because my friends are playing the game. And I can't tell you the countless hours I've put in trying to beat these scores. And even with all of that, I'm still actually kind of suffering. And this is great, because this is how this engaged player actually uses their social graph to both compete within the game, but also to reach out to friends and say, this is an awesome game. And by the way, I love the way this game monetizes. It actually monetizes based upon checkpoints, which is kind of brilliant. So you can play the game from the start, but if you actually want to progress in the game, you actually have to buy it. So real-time multiplayer is also great for the competitor. All right, there are how many games that are cloning this same basic game sitting on Play Games right now? But this game was set apart because Clumsy Bird actually uses real-time auto-matching to drive a tournament system between players. And this encourages and rewards them to play together and more often. Auto-matching provides instant access to both their own social graph as well as the entire set of players that are actually playing the game now. So people get matched up really, really quickly. But of course, they also have a way of inviting friends directly, which allows them to not only grow the players in the game, but it also allows people to actually grow their graph of players. And in this game, they actually further encourage me to compare myself to others. So how did my friend beat my score? And where did they get that awesome hat for their bird? And turn-based multiplayer is another way to accomplish this kind of social interaction, especially for gameplay sessions that can be completed incrementally over a course of days. So in a similar way to real-time multiplayer, matches can be played through inviting friends or auto-picking people who are playing right now. And what makes the invite system effective and encouraging repeat gameplay is showing players who you've played with recently or who are actively playing the game. So, for example, this person, who is not me, is reminded that I am playing the game. And yes, that is me with long hair. And this is Frozen Front, by the way. I just want to call out to our friends at Handy Games for putting together an awesome turn-in game for us. Thank you. So when you receive a notification to play a game, it's an opportunity to install a game you weren't playing previously. In the next update with Play Game Services, which is rolling out in the next couple of weeks, we're introducing expanded notifications for Play Games. And the goal of these changes are to deliver multiplayer and other requested game actions between users across Google's social graph. The main change is that users are notified differently based upon the priority settings on their device. So what does this actually look like in real life? Once again, using Frozen Front as an example. We've got a new game action here. And this first example is a game action that came in from someone who was actually in my circles. So it pops up, I can see their picture, I see everything about them. The second one, we've actually aggregated a game action from someone who wasn't in my circles. These show up silently. They show up along with the rest of notifications. You see I've got one more. And then if we actually go into the screen, we now have the ability to go and add this person to my circles. So one, you can directly grow your game graph through these invitations, your social gaming graph through these invitations. And two, we actually aggregate these in a way that's very, very low bandwidth for the user to deal with. And I think both of those are really critical to making people engage with and love the service. So here's something that's very near and dear to my heart. These are actually two of my friends. She has an Android device, and he has an iPhone. And they do all sorts of things together. They send each other text messages. They send each other emails. They can send each other Snapchats. They can even make phone calls with each other. But if they actually want to play a game together, it just doesn't happen. And the reason why is that these games often use services that are not cross-platform. So I wanted to really emphasize this. From the very start of Google Play Games, we have thought about this as a cross-platform service. We support Android, iOS, and the web for the vast majority of our services, and we support Android and iOS for things like multiplayer. Because, the truth is, both of these platforms are really, really important to our audience. And what's most important to us is making sure that our audience gets what they want, that our users are happy. So, let's talk a little bit about this. So for a long time on Android, we've had, and iOS, from day one, we supported achievements, cloud save, and leaderboards. And cloud save is really, really awesome because there are people that have, for example, an Android phone, an iOS tablet, and vice versa. And it's really, really great. It's almost magical to bring that experience from one device to the other and just have it carry over. But for a long time, multiplayer has been an Android-only feature. So last week, we actually announced that full-blown, both turn-based and real-time multiplayer is coming to iOS. And let's start with why you should care. Because in some ways, we know this is going to be more work. You have to care about different clients being in sync. But for starters, it's a really cool trick. And we've been saying forever that games are the original social. This is the right thing to do. People want to play with their friends no matter what devices they have. And frankly, you're going to get a better matchmaking experience. Think about it this way. A typical mobile multiplayer setup is a peer-to-peer network that looks kind of like this. Well, with people. And basically, all these people are interconnected, okay, as you're playing a real-time game. But if you have fewer players look around, you've got fewer options. So for example, our system might be matching you, some players in San Francisco with a third player in London, which has a slow connection to those other two players in San Francisco. Not that London has slow connections in general. And this may take longer to get a fourth player into the match, so they might drop out. But the more devices you have running your real-time game, the better chance you have of actually getting fast real-time connections, which means more engaged players. Because if we take our pool of players and we double it, wait for it, double it. Oh, wait, I clicked the wrong button. There we are. We have not only that, not only can we find more players, we can get them into sessions faster, but they also have better ping times, so they have a better experience. Don't they look happy? So that's what we announced last week. This is a demo of a game that's actually running on two separate devices. This is Battle Pillars, which I think is really funny. And this is a real-time real-time gameplay session going between an iOS device and an Android device. So this is pretty cool. You start it on one, and you play it on both together. And the experience is actually really great, and it's really, really fun. And we want to see more games like this. So they worked with us during our early access program to actually make this happen so we could show there was one real game that actually did this. But we want to see a lot more. OK, so that's what we're announcing. Again, we attack this gamer with cross-platform social discovery, with real-time and turn-based multiplayer. We're going back to our archetype here. This is our competitor. Spent a lot of time with the competitor because it's a lot like me. But I also am a lot like this guy. And this is our achievement-based guy. He likes to go into deep gaming experiences. And so social leaderboards are actually work really, really well for him because he's always looking for the next thing. But he also is really into games that are deep. And so we want quality achievements. And what do we mean when I say this? Well, I mean really designing good achievements. And this is not something that's specific to mobile. This is something that actually works everywhere. So this is a great game. Okay? I don't know who here has played Plague Inc. But when you finish the game, you're not done. Because it turns out there's a whole bunch more to do once you've destroyed the world with plague. For example, here are the achievements. And it's a guideline of what I can do. Like, I can cause World War III. I can infect astronauts with a plague in space. And this is awesome. And that's what achievements are all about. They're all about, hey, I finished the core experience, but there's so much more that I could have done during the game that will take so much more time. And it gives you a guideline, it gives your users a guideline to know exactly how to do this. How am I going to waste the next 40 hours of my life? Okay, that's it right there. And it's going to be fun. Okay. So the point is that achievements actually matter. And I love this slide, just because it's so incredibly goofy. The guy's like, gamification. And she's like, well, I'll have some Series A funding. But this is actually a great presentation that Todd put together. You can see it here at this short link, which I'll keep up for a while, but you can also hunt it. So this is our Play Games best practices. This is a slide we did at GDC Next down in Los Angeles last year, and it's great. It goes through not just talking about achievements, but it actually talks about all the things we learned about the services, why we've changed some of the things we do. For example, this talk actually goes into great detail about why it actually turned out to be better to immediately pop up a dialogue saying, hey, would you like to play with your friends when the game first launched, rather than just using the sign-in button. And this explains all of our logic behind the changes we've made. It's a really good deck. So you should definitely check it out. All right. Let's talk about how we find this guy, this not particularly social gamer, how we help them find games. So let's talk about all the things we do to help people find games. So first of all, everyone knows about reviews. And what's cool about this is you can see, first of all, this is actually from my device, and you can see I see the reviews by my friends, okay? And you see they all really like this game, which made me go and download it. Then, of course, we also have the badges that appear in the Play Store. So when you integrate Play Game services, you get multiplayer, achievement, leaderboard badges showing up for your game. Okay? And what we find out is that people who don't integrate Play Game services get lower reviews. You'll get reviews saying 1 star, I want cloud save, 1 star, where are my achievements? Okay? So it actually is really cool. People like having access to this. In addition, of course, you have recently played. So you can look at any one of your friends and see what they're actually playing. So I know, for example, Rich is always playing a good game. In this case, I know that Greg is always playing cool games. I mean, well, OK, he's playing Clumsy Bird. But other than that, not to back on the Clumsy Bird guy. They've actually done a great job. I'm just not a huge fan of that particular gameplay. And as well as recommended games. Here are popular multiplayer games, for example. So I can find out all the other cool multiplayer games that are going on that people are playing in Play Game that use Play Game services, as well as actual search. So this is pretty cool. But when I search once again, I can find these titles that are integrating Play Game services. And then, of course, within Google Play, we have revamped all of our gaming categories so they make sense. So that was something we've done. We finally are rolling it out now. So you're seeing that now. You're seeing the impact of that now. People are able to find the games that they want and the categories they want much more easily than before. 18 new categories. So we've got this guy. And the question is, how do we approach him? And yes, we know that sign in with Cloud Save is really important to this guy. It's important to everyone. And I can't stress this. We stressed it in the first talk as well. But sign in with Cloud Save is really important, because people are often buying things within your game. And if they feel like their purchases are going to be lost because they lost their phone or because they upgrade to a new device, that makes them less likely to want to purchase. And we actually have this anecdotally. So one of our good friends actually kept getting request after request after request from gamers, please put in Cloud Save. They integrated it, and boom, the next day they saw massive increases in sales. People were literally waiting for that. So again, Cloud Save is really important. But for these guys, we didn't really have anything for social discovery until last week. So this is cool. We've actually added a new feature to Play Games, which is game gifts, which is exciting. A lot of people have asked us, well, how do I do this? In fact, there are people who are using multiplayer to try to do this. This is really, if you want to actually get people into the social graph of your game, this is actually a great way of doing it. I'm going to talk about it. So here's how it actually looks And I'm going to actually put some code up on the screen since I know a bunch of you are actually developers, so don't be scared. And of course, an extra life looks like a mushroom. It's the universal symbol for an extra life. So here's what the flow looks like. Okay, first of all, someone in the game says, I want to send an extra life to one of my friends. And this is the code that you use to do that. And it's really, really straightforward. You say, give me an intent, start an activity. And that intent contains a payload of whatever you want, how long you want it to live in days, an icon, and a description. And that's it. That's all you have to do to actually send a gift. One line of code. 2 lines of code, actually. I lied. And then from there, we actually pop up this screen saying, hey, who do you want to send a gift to? In this screen, it's me. Everyone send gifts to me. That's a subtle hint. Finally, it goes into our cloud. And then from there, we actually send a notification. In this case, from me to me. And then, I get an aggregate list of all the gifts and requests that people have made. So this is not just gifts. This actually shows other social interactions as well. And then finally, I can accept the gift. And then if the game's installed, I just go to the game and I accept the gift. Otherwise, I go to Google Play Store. And then I can install the game, so I can then accept the gift. And then this is what actually happens. So after I sign in, what I'm going to want to do is actually get any requests that are pending. And that's how I actually go to accept the gift. Again, not a lot of code here. If you're already using Play Game Services, it's just like one extra line. And then I actually handle the requests. And then finally, it comes back, it calls me back and says, yes, indeed, these gifts have been accepted, and I can put whatever code I have right here in order to accept it. And I can do just more than gifts. I can actually do wishes. So you can see like this little guy here is going, help, because I can also ask for an extra life, for example, or ask for help. So I can actually send a gift to someone, or I can do a request for a gift. So once again, 1-up successful. All right. And then now the other thing, this is kind of a complicated flow. So you can actually register to be notified that gifts have come to your app, so that you'll just get a notification when they come in. And you can actually show the request inbox from within your game. But you can actually use the gifting system for much more than just that. You can also use it to trade items between players. Because I didn't actually show you everything when I showed you this first graph. There's something missing, which is that after you've accepted the gift, you actually get a notification back saying, yes, this person accepted the gift, which means you can use the same gifting system to actually do things like trade. So instead of accepting the gift here, I could have said, hey, do you want to make this trade? And then it actually says, sure, and now it trades it. You can even have it go through multiple rounds. You could actually have, hey, no, I don't want to accept that gift, so I say no. But then I actually want to say, but I'll do this instead. And you can actually have these really complex social interactions going in loops between people negotiating for gifts that they might want to have or trade. So again, this is pretty cool. Again, it allows you to grow your social graph. If they don't have the game, they can get the game. If they're not in your circles, they can become part of your circles. So that's both very important. You can actually do this just by an email address. If you've got an email address of someone, you can actually start this whole process off. All right. So those are our 3 archetypes. And the question is, how do you know whether you're actually being successful in targeting them? We talked about analytics, and everyone should be integrating Google Analytics, and we're going to talk more about that later on today. But what I'm talking about is something slightly different. Just by using Play Games, you actually get free statistics and analytics of how your game is performing. And this is pretty cool. So we actually give you these zero in effort statistics as part of a daily dashboard. Let's take a closer look at that. All right, that's a little too close. But in all seriousness, we give you key metrics for signed-in games players. So including recent metrics around new and active players, how well you're retaining them. So this is really cool. Check this out. Right in the service, you can see, whoa, those are my retention numbers. That's really, really awesome. Like, makes me super happy. You can also see what are my top achievements, and you can actually to see if your players are actually staying engaged. So once again, like all this stuff that I wish we had from day one, we have now. So not only do you get with Play Game Services, do you get actual people, more people in your social graph, you get more people playing the game and engaging. You can actually see whether it's working, which is really cool. And there's more than this, of course. You can also see how many new users started playing your game, which ones remain active, and how well you're retaining them days later. So imagine you released an update to your game with brand new levels and characters in an effort to attract an existing player back. This active player report and these trend lines will actually show you if you accomplished that goal and how that compared to the game update you released a month ago. This is also another critical tool, the retention dashboard. So this helps you understand your ever-critical new player return rate. So this will show you new player return rates after 1, 2, 7, and 30 days. So let's say you updated your game on March 8th with a new game tutorial flow. You can easily see that your game increased day 2 conversion by more than 10% after that update, validating that you've improved your game for early players. Now, come on, is this not cool? Does anyone think this is not cool in the audience? I mean, this is really cool. You can see someone who started playing here is still, and what percentage of them is still playing day 2 and day 7 and day 30. And our engagement dashboard rounds out the new updates. Now you get trend line reports across all of your achievements and the scores pushed across your leaderboards. This comes in handy to understand how you're appealing to the achievers of the world. Now you'll see that achievement you added last week is really getting players to finish the final dungeon of your game, or if that new tournament mode is actually succeeding by looking at the increased activity on a new leaderboard. So enhanced play game statistics is just rolled out. You should all see it in your dashboards now if you're already using play games. And again, we think this is going to be really, really useful to help you not understand your players, but also understand how these services are actually being valuable. All right, so let's do a quick recap. We learned today that Google Play Games can help your game perform better. And it does this by connecting your game to higher quality users who play more often, play longer, and are more likely to monetize. You can engage the most competitive of our users through social capabilities. And we announced game gifts to help reach players who enjoy passive social experiences. You can improve the discoverability of your game with Play Games through notifications and through additional exposure in the Play Games app. And with enhanced Play Game statistics, oh, sorry, I forgot about this, guys. And of course, you guys should always consider cross-platform multiplayer to help engage your most important players. Help! And then finally, we introduced Play Game statistics. So it's now easier than ever to measure your success through player and engagement analytics. OK, there is one more thing I wanted to mention. And that is no Java required. We have a complete Unity plugin, and we are working on a C++ based integration. And these are both really, really cool, because we have heard from you that not all of you use Java as your primary programming language. So let's talk about Unity. So up until last week, you had achievements, cloud save, and leaderboards in Unity, and that's totally cross-platform. Now we have both turn-based and real-time multiplayer as well as part of our own Unity plugin. This is an open-source plugin that's available on GitHub. So once again, you can download this, you can modify it, you can do whatever you want with it. It is just a cool way of talking to our services. Here's an example of a game that we wrote using our Unity plugin. It takes the excitement out of car racing and replaces it with math. But what's really, really cool is that there were no code changes between this to run cross-platform. This is exactly the same code. It's using real-time multiplayer. It's just that easy once with our Unity plugin. How many of you out there are using Unity, by the way? Show of hands. OK, that's good. It's always nice to know we did something that people might find useful. And it's really, really easy to do. You just import a custom package. On Android, you just put in the application ID. That's the only Android-specific work you have to do to use our Unity plugin. On iOS, you have to put in an OS client ID and bundle identifier. And that's it. That is the only specific code that was done to make that game run cross-platform with real-time multiplayer on Unity. So that's hugely, hugely powerful. And it's a single API, again. So this is actually how you go and invite people. Boom. And that's what it looks like on iOS, by the way. For people who haven't actually seen it, it looks really good on iOS. They've done a nice job. This is the call to invite my friends. But what about you who don't use game engines or have built your own? How many out here have actually built your own game engine or used something other than Unity out there? All right, so more people. OK, so we have recognized that there's an enormous number of people who want to do this too. So before, in the old world, you took your C++ game engine, and you had some if-defs, then you had some JNI, and you talked to a Java library, which would then talk to play game services underneath. And then under iOS, you would use if-defs, and you talk to our Objective-C library. And that was a lot of work, and people complained about it a lot. And it's easy to get JNI wrong if you haven't done it before. And it turns out most people who build game engines are not necessarily JNI experts. And then different versions of Android, we've actually made our stuff more JNI compliant over time. So unless you're testing against the latest version, you might not realize your JNI code doesn't work, et cetera, et cetera. And then there's Art VM that's thrown in, which has added even more fun because we've ratcheted down our JNI even more for that. So we've made this easy. We've actually created a C++ library that your game engine can talk to that's completely cross-platform. So the API is entirely cross-platform. It's exactly the same on iOS as it is on Android. And the great thing about that is, again, you don't have to modify your code. You can talk straight to our C++ library. Now, this is still an early release. And it does a lot more than just talking to our REST endpoints. So our C++ library automatically does all the OAuth 2 management for you. If you're on Android, it actually makes calls through JNI to our actual play game services stack. If you're on iOS, it actually has a full-blown interface to do OAuth 2 management. That's quite nice. It handles things like network retries. It has local caching for offline play. It has its own built-in UI widgets. And it has a much, much better threading model than even the standard play game services. You don't have to worry about calling it from the main thread, for example. It actually has its own threads. Now, of course, you'll have to worry about calling it from those other threads. But at least it's not thread-bound the way the standard JNI version is, the standard Java version is. So what else would I want to say about that? Yes. So for version 1.0 of this, all we're providing is sign-in, leaderboards, and achievements, which was supposed to be the third thing on that slide. It's not for everyone. I recognize that this is a work in progress. We're putting it out there so that people can start using it. We want to get your feedback. Are we making the right decisions with our C++ native API for play games? So please, please let us know. We're really, really looking for feedback on this product. We're going to be expanding it going forward. I expect to see a new version certainly in the Google I/O timeframe that does more and more stuff. But we're very, very excited about this. We put a lot of effort in to make it great and to make it really be seamless and cross-platform. All right, let's do the actual recap one more time. So once again, if you missed it the first time, we find great users. We can appeal to hardcore stereotypes for gaming archetypes. We also can appeal to more casual archetypes. We have services to do all of that. We actually help you engage your users through social interactions. Consider doing everything cross-platform because it makes your users happier. It's the right thing to do. Don't make my friends sad. And of course, we added these great statistics that you get for free just by integrating play game services. All right? Oh, yes. And we also have Unity and C++. So you have to do even less work. So that is my presentation. If you want to contact me, you can contact me at +DanGalpin or Twitter @DAGalpin. And I can now take some questions for a few minutes if you have any questions on anything I just talked about. And I might even be able to give you answers. And I'll repeat your questions so that everyone else can hear. Oh, I'm going to give you even a mic. Wow, this is so sophisticated. I love it.
Really simple one to start. How do you access the statistics in?
So the statistics are actually available on the Google Play Publisher site under the Games tab. So it's actually under the Play Games area.
What are the options for HTML5 game developers?
So for HTML5 game developers, currently we support leaderboards, achievements, sign-in, and cloud save. And those are all supported through standard REST endpoints. We're looking to see what we can do to bring some of the other services. Turn-based is kind of partially there. Real-time, we need to do a bunch of work because real-time relies on a bunch of sophisticated networking that we don't have really yet in a standard way across web browsers. But I think that we'll see turn-based next, probably. It's still all about how do we get notifications in the best way to users and making sure that experience is really, really good. But we're very, very close on turn-based, actually. Yeah. There's two out there. Yeah, no, it's the blue one.
We are in the progress of integrating real-time multiplayer in our game. And
Great.
We have some pretty detailed stuff where we have some issues, how to solve some problems, and we're not sure whether the API supports them. Where would you recommend we go to find questions to such detailed questions?
So, I mean, there's kind of two things. One is that Stack Overflow is actually our primary support site for Play Game Services. We actually have our own tag. So that's certainly a great place to start. Obviously, you know people at Google. You can also ask us. If Stack Overflow doesn't have the answer, you can always ask another question. We actually do try to monitor that on a semi-regular basis as well. But since you know us, you can certainly ask us directly. While you're here, just find one of us afterwards.
That would mean if I make a question on Stack Overflow and nobody answers it, then I could send a mail to you, and then you would.
You could actually send it to both of us at the same time. That works too. You could say, I just posted this question on Stack Overflow link. Can you help? And I'll make sure to send it to someone on our team who might be able to answer that question. But I really like using Stack Overflow because I like making sure that once we give out an answer, as many people as possible can get access to that answer. So unless it's something proprietary, it'd be great to do that, to go through that route.
Just wonder what the economics are for using this the new cross-platform multiplayer. Like how much does that cost us?
All these services are all free. I mean, they have generous quotas. If for some reason those quotas aren't good enough, just tell us. We'll give you more quota. We just need to know why our services are getting picked on. So I guess I didn't mention that. Yeah, like all this stuff. We're providing all this infrastructure for free. We want to actually improve games. We see a lot of upside to games being better and more engaging. With a stronger player pool, so that's why we're doing this, and we really, really feel that the cross-platform story is very, very important, to our gamers, to the most important people, the people who are actually playing the games. Are there any other questions?
So, how is Apple reacting to that?
I don't have any friends at Apple that have told me anything negative about it. I think that we feel that this kind of service is the best thing for users. We feel, and that's the way we look at it. It's kind of a philosophy we have at Google in a general way, is to put our users first. That's why we've gone to such lengths to do this. I actually think we're even going to go farther in terms of cross-platform support in the future. I mean, right now we have, again, REST APIs. That's pretty platform agnostic. I'd like to see us even do one step better than that. So hopefully you'll see more from us in the future. But again, this is all about giving users what they want, which is the ability to play with their friends. And for me, the ability to play on any device I choose, whether or not it's an Android device or an iOS device or even some other device from another manufacturer. And there's no reason you can't actually use these services anywhere you have REST endpoints.
OK.
All right.
Thank you very much, Dan Galpin.
Thank you.